Hi, today we're going to cover resolvers in Angular. So what is a resolver? Well, to work on this, let's go ahead and check out to my Angular 7 Redux project so I can explain the concept to you. So if you aren't already looking at it on your computer, go ahead to my Bitbucket website. I'll put the link in the description, and go ahead and check out to the guards branch. So this is the starting point. So let's go ahead and open up the app routing file, because a resolver is related to routing. So one way to work with an app would be to navigate to a given route and just have everything kind of be empty on the page at the beginning, and then just kind of display some kind of loading icons or loading animations and load everything once the page is already loaded. So that does have benefits. It makes your page very snappy, very native feeling, in the sense that everything, all navigation occurs instantly. However, if for whatever reason you want to have the data resolved before you actually navigate to the given page, that's where resolvers come into play. So to work with a resolver, you use the resolve attribute in a route definition, and then you specify an attribute that you want to be put into the data of the router. And we're going to be accessing this in the component that we're routing to via an activated route object. So we pass in here an attribute that we want to be defined, and then we pass in the name of the resolver that's going to be defining this data. Oops. So let's go ahead and say this is going to be the dashboard resolver, which isn't defined yet, but we will be defining it. So let's go ahead and just let's copy one of our other service files as such and rename it to dashboard.resolver. And we're going to rename it to dashboard resolver. It's going to implement the resolve of type any. And let's go ahead and delete the method that we had copied over. And we're going to delete all the injected elements, except for we're going to add in the HTTP client. Add in the necessary input statements. And we go ahead and implement all members of the as defined by the resolve interface, and import all the type definitions that are on the parameters. And there we go. So we have successfully set up the resolver. Now let's go ahead and actually get some data into it. So before I do that, let's just import the actual resolver over in our routing file. And I just want to mention that the resolvers are run after the guards are run. So in my instance right here, I'm using a can load and a can activate guard. So these will be run, first the can load guard will be run, then the can activate guard will be run, and then any data resolvers will be run after those. And it's not just because I put this at the bottom. It always happens that the order is determined by running the guards before the resolvers. So that's all the setup there really is to using a resolver. Now we just can play around with demonstrating it in action and how to access the data that's returned from the resolver. So we're going to be using the HTTP client. We're going to be making a GET request to this mock API that I'm using. So let's go ahead and paste the URL in there. So how I'm going to be using this in my demo is basically I'm just going to be stripping out the colors from a couple of these attributes, and we're going to pretend that it's some kind of like user preference, so that when the page starts to load, the when the page starts to load, the certain parts of the page will be colored according to the user's preference, as defined by these colors. So let's say, for example, that the first data attribute we're gonna take the color from that and color one part of the page, and we're gonna take the last color and color another part of the page, and use that to kind of simulate what we could be using a resolver for, just using what's available in this this mock API that I'm using. So let's go ahead and continue with that. So going into our data, using the pipe operator, we're going to be transforming the observable that's returned. So we're going to use the pipe operator, and then we're going to pluck out the data attribute from within this response. So it's called data. And then let's go ahead and transform that data a little bit. So none of this, well, this part isn't really critical for learning resolvers, but I'm just going to play around with the RxJS operators bit so you can get some side knowledge in, some beneficial learning and experience seeing people work with the operators. So let's go ahead and strip out everything except for the ID and the color. So to do that, we can use the map operator, which will operate directly on the value being emitted from the source observable, which is the entire object. So in this case, it's going to be in this entire array that's being passed into here. So we can transform that using the map operator, and what are we going to do? We're going to use the array map operator to do something. When working with this a little bit earlier, I had to typecast this as an any array, just so it realizes that you can use the map operator on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to be, as I mentioned, we're just going to return, for every element in the array, we're just going to be returning an object with the ID and the color. We don't need any of the other data. So let's actually make it like that. And within there, we're going to have, oh, sorry, I lost the other map operator. So turn data.map. Let's keep it in line. Data.map. And then within there, we're going to have the datum, which is a singular version. And we're going to return an object. We're going to transform each item inside of that array. We're going to return an ID and a color. And that's all that's going to be in there. So now, yeah, that's kind of simplifies what's coming out. We can also just console log out what's going through there, just to confirm that it is what we want. So let's go to our app, log in, open up their console log thingy-majig, and click the login button. Get an error because we never added this service, this resolver service, to our module. So let's go ahead and go to our app routing module, and let's go ahead and add the dashboard resolver there. Try that one more time. Okay, so this is the data that we're logging out. So now it's coming as an array with each item in the array only having an ID and a color. So we kind of stripped out some of that data using RxJS. And now let's go to the dashboard component itself. Let's go ahead and inject into the component. Let's go ahead and inject the activated route. And we're going to define a couple of attributes in here. We're going to pluck out, or we're going to take out some of the data coming through there. So there's many ways to do that. Okay, first color. Be observable of type string, because this color is just a string in the hex code. And second color. All right. So this dot first color equals this dot activated route dot data. So autocomplete's great here. It tells you that the data attribute is right there, and then we can transform it using RxJS pipe. And in order to pull the relevant data out of the activated route, we need to remember what we called this data inside of our app routing module. So if you can see here, we called it dashboard. So that's what it's going to come out to when we try to access it through this activated route. So let's go ahead and just pluck out that data. Oh, sorry, dashboard data. So it's called dashboard. And then we're going to transform it some more. So there's many ways to accomplish pulling out just one data attribute from it. In a real world application, we would just probably just get the whole array, and then in the HTML template we could just kind of get the first one from there. So I guess we could do that. Now let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, we'll do that for the first one. So let's plug out that dashboard data, and then in our HTML template, let's put a div around the users thing. And let's use ng style and say background color is going to be what is it? First color. And since it's an observable, we need to use the async pipe to get the data out of the observable. Okay, go ahead and save that. And all right, so we're going to be taking the first color from there. Okay, that variable is named wrong. Let's go ahead and refactor that variable name. Since we're not just taking one data, one color out of it, it's actually going to be multiple colors. It's an array. It's an observable of string array. Okay. Go ahead and save that and go back to our template now. So it's an array. So once that data loads, we're going to use the safe navigation operator to I forget if there's a get operator. No, there's no get operator. So let's just get the 0th element. Forget if there's a safe navigation for Oh, actually the data should be there from the very beginning, so because we're resolving it. So let's see what's going on here. Where's that users rectangle? So it's coming through as an object. So when in doubt, add a console log. Add a tap operator with a console log. And add the import. Hit save. Make sure you wait for your build to rerun. And then go ahead and log in. And let's take a look at that rectangle over there. So it's still coming through as, okay. So we're trying to get the 0th element, and then that's why we're currently setting the color equal to this object here, but we want the color attribute from within there. So let's go back to the HTML template, and then use the safe navigation operator to take out the color thing from within there. So let's go ahead and log in again. And now you can see we successfully are using the data that we resolved to style the part of the page with that given color. Let me change the colors up for us a bit. Cool. Alright, so let's go ahead and just get some more practice with RxJS, and let's do another let's call this one special color. I changed up from what I had. I'm changing up this demo from how I had originally planned it. So let's go ahead and just get some more practice using the RxJS real quick. So inside of the constructor, let's define this special color. Where's that? All right, so this special color equals this activator route data pluck, and we're going to transform this a little bit differently. We're going to still pluck out the dashboard data from within there. Sorry, this one is supposed to be pipe. And then we're going to pluck out the dashboard data like before. And now, if you can remember, it's coming through as an array, but that array is being emitted by the source observable as one big array. It's not being emitted 3 times. So just getting some practice with RxJS, let's go ahead and split that array apart so that the observable will emit three different times, and then let's just take the last emission from that observable. So to do that, we can use what's called the merge map operator. And what this is going to do once we import it is that it's going to take the parameter, which is a color array, and we're going to break it apart into different emissions. So each element in the array is going to come in a different emission. So we can do that using the from. It's kind of an operator from RxJS, but it's not located in the operators folder, so I call it an operator, but call it whatever you want. It's a function. I believe I might have to typecast it to get TypeScript to quit complaining. So this is going to yep, there we go. And now that we have 3 emissions coming through the observable, using the from operator that transformed the array into each element of the array into a separate emission through the observable. So now let's just take the last value coming through using the RxJS last operator. Let me go ahead and optimize the imports and show them to you real quick. So we imported from and we imported last from RxJS. So that's just a little bit of RxJS practice, kind of a bonus for this video. Not really a core concept for the resolvers. However, it just kind of shows you what you can do with RxJS. And oh, we're not doing anything with this special color yet. So let's go ahead and do something with it. So in our code, let's go ahead and, I don't know, let's color the list of people using ng style. Background color also. And it's going to move this to a new line so we have some more readable code. And so this is called special color, async pipe. And our bracket. Save your code, let it compile. Yep, I don't see any errors there. So let's go back to our browser. Let it run. Didn't work because, let me set the colors back to normal. You can see here the user's object is colored, but these ones are still just objects. And that's because, once again, I forgot to pull out the data from the color attribute, I'm guessing. So let's refresh the page. Log back in one more time. Inspect our element. Still coming through as an object. You see here, object, object. So when in doubt, go back to your, ooh, something happened here. Maybe I had a typo or something. So let's save it, make sure that it compiles successfully. It did, so go back to our browser and take a look at, still an object, so when in doubt, add a console log using the tap operator. And let's delete the one up here so we don't get confused. Log in. Okay. So so I just did a little bit of debugging on my own, and the issue is that the observable isn't completing, so the last operator isn't working as I had expected. So instead, let's just use the first operator here, and we'll be pulling the first data element as it's gonna be our special color. So in the dashboard component, let's actually change the other one as being the second, or the third element, using the to index. And we don't need our console logs. I'm switching the colors around because it wasn't that critical that the last element be the special one for the purposes of this demo. So we go ahead and log in, and now we can see that the colors are being rendered according to the user's preference. Oops. So yeah, there you have it. That's route resolving. You can resolve data before navigating to a given route. If you like the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel.